chapter number 2 on individual behavior. Now we have talked about many different aspects like attitudes, perception, personality traits, motivation, learning processes, etc., which affects the individual behavior. Now today we are going to talk about another topic, that is emotions. Now what is an emotion? Emotion can be defined as a neural impulse that moves a person to action. Now there are 4 different terms which are related to emotion: affect, emotions, feelings and moods. All these 4 terms seem to be similar. So first of all, affect is something which covers all the 3, that is emotions, feelings and moods. Now there is a difference between emotions and feelings. Feelings are something which are not very intense. Emotions are directional, focused and intense. Directional as in either it is positive emotion or a negative emotion. Either you like something or you dislike something. So that is directional. Again, it is focused and intense. That means it has focus on certain thing. You have an emotion for a particular thing or a particular situation, and its intensity is high. While moods are non-directional and they are not intense. So moods do not have a particular direction. They can either be negative, positive, or they can be both simultaneously. And their intensity can also be low because during the moods there can be something which is called as mixed feelings. So these are 4 important terms where emotions comes into picture, and our emotions directs our actions. So first of all, let us understand what are different components of emotions. Now there are 3 components of emotions: the cognitive component, the physiological component and the conative component, or conative means expressive component. Now the cognitive component means knowing the emotion. For example, knowing that I have a fear. Okay, the feeling of fear is the cognitive component of the emotion. Now when we talk about physiological component, it means that there is some arousal of the emotion inside the body and which shows some change in our body. Suppose if we are fearful, then our heart starts beating fast, or we may have perspiration, or we may start shivering. So the cognition of fear results into the physiological component of high heart rate or perspiration or shivering. The third component is the conative or the expressive, which is the way our emotion is expressed, maybe through our body language or our paralanguage. For example, when we get angry, our tone will change. Or when we are fearful of something, and if we start having perspiration and shiver, we will try to get away from that situation. That is our expression of our emotion. Now there are 6 basic emotions. There are so many different emotions which may be the combination of these emotions, but basically there are these 6 emotions, that is happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, anger and surprise. We may be happy about something, some person or some situation, or sad about it. We may fear something. We may have anger towards something. We may disgust something, and we may be surprised. All these are our emotions. Now what is the function of emotion? How does it help? Now it is believed that emotional is something which is weak or irrational. But studies say that if human beings don't have emotions, then they start behaving erratically and and against their own self-interests. So if you don't have emotions, you may start behaving in such a manner which will be harmful to you only. How? For example, when you are going to do something wrong, you will have a kind of emotion inside you which is fear of being caught. And that emotion will stop you from doing that. If that emotion is not there, then what you will do? You will just do things the way you want to do, and then you will end up getting into troubles. Now this is how through emotions we can take rational decisions or rational actions. Intelligence alone cannot help in making decisions, but we require the emotions. It is the identification of emotion attached with a particular decision that helps in taking a rational decision. So like I said, if you are fearful, you will not do that action. If you feel a disgust, you will not do that action. If you are happy, you will try to do that action even more. So this is how emotion helps. It is useful because it motivates people to engage in actions that are important for their survival, and it is important for their growth also. Again, to give you an example, we can say that emotions of disgust will help you in avoiding certain dangers, or you can say emotions of excitement will help you in taking lots of initiatives at workplace or even in your life. So this is how different emotions will help you in either doing certain things or avoiding certain things. And that is why many people say that emotional is not being weak, but it is actually being rational. Now, to understand emotion even in a better manner, particularly in the organization, because in the organizations we have human beings, and human beings have emotions. Different human beings will have emotions at different intensity, and because of that, it will also affect their work. So let us understand certain terms which are related to emotions in the organizations. So the first term that we are going to understand is emotional labor. Now what is this? When a real emotion is exactly the opposite of required emotional display, then we may face what we call as emotional labor, or in other words, there is disparity of emotions. So to give you an example, suppose there is a person in the customer service, and for the entire day the person keeps on helping the customers. Now the basic requirement for a person in a customer service, particularly in the hospitality industry, if you see that people in the customer service always have to smile. They are always courteous, polite, they speak with smile, and they always display a very good and courteous behavior. Now this is their requirement of emotional display. But in reality, there may be so many different emotions going in the background of that person's mind. That person may be going through a lot of things in the life. That person may be sad, but instead that person will have to smile. Or that person is going through some difficult time, but will have to smile. Or again, sometimes when a person is doing a job which he or she doesn't like, and still that person has to smile, which is completely opposite to what one feels, then there is a disparity in the emotion. And because of this disparity in the emotion, there is emotional labor. So emotional labor is an employee's expression of organizationally desired emotions during interpersonal transaction at work. That is, you have to display the desired emotions. That is emotional labor. Now emotional labor can become a heavy toll on the employees. Why? Because there will be bottled up feelings of frustration, anger and resentment which the person is not able to express, and that will lead to an emotional exhaustion. So many a times people working in corporates, particularly like I said in customer service, or even in all the organizations, or they have to display a certain kind of organizational behavior. But inside their mind, they have different emotions running. And because of this disparity, they have bottled up feelings. And that leads to something which is exhaustion. And because of that exhaustion, many a times people feel, I need a break. I just want to go away from this place. I just want to be with my own self. That is the reason a person will feel like that. Now another term that we are going to understand, and which is very important one, that is emotional intelligence. Now emotional intelligence is a person's ability to be self-aware, that is, recognize one's own emotions, detect emotions in others, and manage emotional cues and information. Again, emotional intelligence means a person's ability to be self-aware, aware of others, and manage the emotional cues and information. That means that when a person is self-aware, the person always knows that what kind of emotion he or she will go through at a certain situation. When one knows about self, one is able to manage one's own emotion. Again, when one is able to manage one's emotion and detect other people's emotions as well, then they are able to perceive the situation correctly. And thirdly, when they get information or emotional cues from other people or self, then they know exactly what to do. So this is how emotional intelligence works, and it is very important. Now people who know their own emotions and are good at reading emotional cues are most likely to be effective. For example, if a person knows why she is angry and how to use it, then anger will be helpful. That means that there is no emotion which is negative, but emotions are only to be managed. We don't need to get rid of an emotion, but we need to manage an emotion. Thus, emotional intelligence plays a very important role in the job performance. But there are two different views about emotional intelligence. First of all, positive points of emotional intelligence is that it is intuitive in nature, predicts criteria that matters, and biologically based. But there are some negatives which says that EI can be a vague concept. It cannot be specific or very precise in nature. It can't be measured because it is intangible, and its validity also cannot be proved. So this is a negative thought about EI. But having said that, whatever kind of argument that people have for the emotional intelligence, it has really gained a lot of attention everywhere in the present world, and people believe that it is very important to have high emotional intelligence, because definitely human beings do have emotions. They do attach certain kind of emotion with every thing, situation or person, and because of that they will act in a certain manner. And if that is the case, then it will affect the organizational behavior also. So if one person is able to manage emotions, then that person will be able to manage one's own behavior as well as other people's behaviors in the organization. Now, as far as emotions are concerned, there are different theories given by different people. Now, theories of emotions explains the relationship between the stimulus, the physical arousal, and the emotion. Now, there are various questions around the emotions. That is, do we feel an emotion because we have a physiological change, or we have a physiological change because we feel an emotion? Which one is correct? Now, the theories of emotion explain the relation between these three in different manner. So, the first theory related to emotions is James Lange theory. Now, the James Lange theory of emotion states that emotion is equivalent to the range of physiological arousal caused by external events. Now these two scientists suggested that for someone to feel emotion, she or he must first experience bodily response such as increased respiration, increased heart rate or sweaty hands. Once this physiological response is recognized, then the person can say that that person feels the emotions. Now this is opposite of the typical common sense way of thinking, which says that if we have an emotion, then it will have a physiological effect. The relationship is completely opposite. So to give you an example, the common sense view always says that suppose there is a tiger and you see the tiger. So first of all, there is a perception of tiger. That means you understood that there is a tiger. This results into the feeling of fear, and that results into physiological reactions like shivering, fast heart rate, etc. But James Lange view says that the perception of tiger will result into shivering and fast heartbeats, and that will then turn into a feeling of fear. So the perception of emotion arousing stimuli is followed by specific physiological reaction such as release of adrenaline and fight or flight reaction. Now the brain interprets the specific physiological changes as the emotion. I am scared because my heart is racing and I am running away. Now this theory was completely criticized by Cannon-Bard. Now what does the Cannon-Bard theory say? Cannon-Bard theory declares that the experience of emotion does not merely rely on the bodily changes that happens. Also, in order to understand the emotion every time, you will have to identify each physiological response for every emotion. So actually the physiological change and the emotion, both of them occur at the same time autonomously. And people recognize the emotions and simultaneously undergo the physiological responses such as perspiring, trembling or tensing of the muscles. So this theory says that James Lange theory fails in explaining the simultaneity of both of them, and also if we believe that theory, then we will have to identify each and every physiological response to each emotion. Now two other scientists gave another theory, that is two-factor theory. The two-factor theory of emotion focuses on the interaction between the physical arousal and how we cognitively label, that is how we mentally label that arousal. So in other words, simply feeling the arousal is not enough. We also must identify the arousal in order to feel the emotion. So when we have those kind of physical arousal in our life, in our body, but if we are not able to identify with that particular emotion, then we will not feel that emotion. So this two-factor theory is completely different, which focuses on the interaction between the cognition and the physiological changes in the body due to certain emotions. So this is how emotional theories explain about emotions, and there are many different questions which revolves around the topic of emotions, and people are still finding out that how emotional intelligence can be used by people and how it can be measured and how you can make the most of your emotional intelligence. So I hope you have understood about emotions. Thank you.